If LeBron James, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant keep drifting through NBA All-Star Game weekend like it's just another warm-up drill, maybe the real problem isn't the format at all. Maybe the problem is the stars themselves, because what used to be one of the most competitive exhibitions in sports now often looks like a glorified shoot-around. No defense, no intensity, just highlight plays and half-speed possessions that SO fans have started asking a question the league probably wishes no one would say out loud. Did today's superstars quietly destroy the All-Star game, or is something else going on? For decades, the All-Star stage was where legends tried to prove something. Players didn't just show up, they competed. Hard fouls happened. Pride was on the line. Guys wanted to prove they were the best player in the building. But in the modern era, things feel different. With massive contracts, longer seasons, and the constant risk of injury, many stars treat the weekend like a celebration rather than a battle. The focus shifts to entertainment instead of competition. And when the biggest names in the league set that tone, everyone else follows, which leads to the real debate. Did players like LeBron, Curry, and Durant unintentionally turn the All-Star game into a relaxed showcase? Or are they simply playing the long game in an era where protecting your body matters more than proving a point in an exhibition? Either way, the result is the same. The game that once felt like a clash of the NBA's best has slowly turned into something else entirely, and fans are starting to notice.
The reason they're doing this, and the reason they've been doing the things that they've been doing over the last few years, is because we have been witnessing the worst ratings in terms of viewership in the NBA All-Star game over the last few years. I mean, this is the lowest point. Like, the NBA has hit rock bottom.
This narrative is all wrong. It's like the Bulls had to learn to overcome the Pistons. No, that's not what happened. What happened was MJ had no help because Scottie was young in the league. As soon as Scottie became an all-star, first year, which is before your prime, the next year you really became Scottie Pippen to me. The first year Jordan played with one other all-star, which was a pre-prime Scottie Pippen. They took the defending champion Pistons 7 games. Scottie had a migraine in game 7, and therefore the Pistons won. The next year, Scottie was in his prime, and the Bulls never again didn't win the championship in under 7 games.
The NBA All-Star Game is flatlining, and everyone can see it. Viewership has dropped to some of the lowest numbers in history, and the league looks desperate, throwing out gimmick after gimmick just to keep fans interested. They tried Team LeBron versus Team Giannis, target scores, and now even USA versus the world formats. But let's be honest, nobody's tuning in because nobody really cares anymore. What used to be a celebration of the game's greatest talent has turned into a lazy highlight reel with zero pride and even less defense that you've got $1 million. Superstars jogging up and down the floor pretending to compete. It's embarrassing. Even insiders can't stomach it anymore. Former Michael Malone, the head coach of the Denver Nuggets and an NBA champion, didn't hold back. He said, "This is the worst basketball game I have ever seen in my life." Let that sink into a professional NBA coach, someone who spent his entire career chasing perfection, watched the league's biggest showcase, and basically called it trash. And honestly, he's not wrong that we're not talking about a pickup game at the YMCA. We're talking about the best players on the planet. Yet somehow, they've turned the All-Star game into a comedy show that no defense, no hustle, no pride. Just flashy passes and wide-open dunks like it's a practice run. Players like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Stephen Curry are supposed to be the icons of this era, the standard bearers for the next generation. But instead of setting the tone, critics say they've created a culture where effort doesn't matter, where competition feels optional. The All-Star game used to be a war for bragging rights. Now, it feels more like a vacation with uniforms. And if the legends treat it like a joke, why should anyone else take it seriously?
NBA leader in scoring and steals, an all-star each of his 4 seasons. The charismatic star of the Chicago Bulls, 6'6", Michael Jordan.
I don't think anybody in this generation could have played like 20 years ago, if I'm being 100. And this is to everybody in our league. All y'all, let me tell y'all something, bro. 20 years ago, bro, you couldn't get to a triple step back. And then if you shot that, it had to go in. Because we had efficiency back in the day, my dude, and it was so hard. It was too physical. And guess what? The league had to come off of it for the flow of movement to be able to have scoring go up, which is why we like to sit here and watch kind of the rat race of the high-paced game, right? But bro, let's not talk about the gamemanship, and let's not talk about the physicality of the game back then. Because I only think half these kids in the league could have been on an NBA team 20 years ago. It was too grown.
But now someone who actually understands what championship mentality looks like is stepping in and calling it out. Scottie Pippen, the legendary partner of Michael Jordan and a six-time champion with the Chicago Bulls, just lit up today's NBA All-Star Game culture during an interview. And he didn't hold back. Pippen didn't sugarcoat anything. His message was blunt. The league needs new blood. He said players who've been repeating as all-stars for 17, 18, even 20 years simply don't want to be there anymore. And when the biggest names lose interest, the whole event suffers. That's his solution. Bring in younger players. Let the hungry guys play. Because when you give rising stars the spotlight, you might actually see real competition again. That's a heavy statement coming from someone who played during basketball's most intense era. Pippen shared the court with Jordan during the Bulls dynasty, when pride, toughness, and winning were everything. And according to him, the problem today is simple. The veterans have checked out. Players like LeBron James, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant aren't showing up to compete anymore. They're showing up to smile for the cameras, collect the appearance, and treat the weekend like a vacation. Pippen isn't blaming the format. He's not blaming gimmicks like the USA versus World concept or target score experiments. He's talking about something deeper. Heart, the hunger to win. The pride that once defined the All-Star game. Back then, every possession mattered. You could feel the fire on the court. Players weren't just entertaining fans. They were trying to prove who the best in the world was. Now, it's nothing but layup lines and lazy alley-oops. And Pippen's message cuts deeper than just one bad exhibition, that he's saying something uncomfortable, that the competitive edge, even when the game doesn't count, has faded in his eyes. The killer instinct that once defined basketball greatness isn't showing up on All-Star Weekend anymore. And if that's true, then the real issue isn't the All-Star format, it's a leadership vacuum at the very top of the league.
When many people around the country didn't know, they weren't certain, that's when you really test who really believes in you, who's really a fan. What did it mean when you stepped into that bigger leadership role in Chicago?
I think as a team, we were so ready for it. And give, man, so much respect to MJ because he deserved all the accolades and everything. But once he retired, we had a great leader step into that position with Scottie Pippen. That's my dog to this day. And we talk too much. And we talk to each other probably twice a week or once every week, my dog. But he stepped into that role and one of the best leaders to ever lead us to 55 wins when a lot of people said, okay, your best player's gone, who's going to step up? And Pip knew he had to step up. I knew I had to step up. And you can't forget Tony Kukoc, B.J. Armstrong, man, and Bill Cartwright.
Charles Barkley broke it down perfectly in one of his analyses. He said greatness isn't just about points, records, or stacking championship rings. It's about setting the standard for everyone who comes after you. It's about building a bar so high that future generations spend their careers trying to reach it. And that's the question Scottie Pippen asked directly, where's the bar now? Because right now, it feels like there isn't one that the league's so-called elder statesmen, the veterans who are supposed to carry the torch, have dropped it. Instead of leading with authority, critics say they're trying to blend in with the younger crowd, chasing cool points instead of commanding respect. Barkley even joked about it. He said some of these veterans have turned into youngins, trying to fit in instead of standing out. And when that happens, the hierarchy that once defined National Basketball Association greatness starts to collapse. Suddenly, nobody's leading anyone that it's chaos disguised as brotherhood. And here's the wild part. If players like LeBron James, Stephen Curry, or Kevin Durant demanded real effort, intensity, and pride during events like the NBA All-Star Game, you know what would happen? The younger players would listen, of course they would. These guys grew up idolizing them. Their posters are on their walls. Their highlights are the reason they picked up a basketball in the first place. But instead of using that influence to shape the next generation, critics say the message being sent is very different. That clout matters more than competition. Now the league is filled with players treating All-Star Weekend like a photo shoot. Not a battlefield, they're thinking about brand deals, viral clips, and social media moments. Not about pride, not about legacy, and definitely not about proving who the best player in the world really is.
Keys to the kids. He's advocating for a changing of the guard, literally. Just look at the energy. Remember Anthony Edwards sprinting down the court last year, or Tyrese Halliburton dishing out 15 assists while actually putting in some effort on defense? These are the moments that resonate. The league's under 25 contingent consistently plays like they're auditioning for playoff minutes. Like every possession is a chance to prove themselves.
And the message from Scottie Pippen is loud and clear. The NBA All-Star Game isn't broken because of the format. It's broken because the leaders stopped leading. And if you want proof of how disconnected the new generation has become from basketball history, look at what happened with Anthony Edwards. He once suggested that in Michael Jordan's era, Jordan was the only truly skilled player. That comment brushed aside legends like Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Hakeem Olajuwon, players who helped define the sport. That many fans and former players, that wasn't just a hot take. That it sounded completely disconnected from history. And the issue isn't just one controversial comment. It reflects a deeper cultural shift inside the National Basketball Association. Critics argue that today's young stars are growing up in a system where branding often feels more important than legacy, where social media presence sometimes overshadows competitive pride, and when the most influential stars, players like LeBron James, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant, set the tone, the entire league tends to follow. Even the respect for veterans has started to shift. The term old head, which once meant wisdom and experience, is sometimes thrown around like an insult. And that's where Charles Barkley weighed in. He said if players in their late 20s or early 30s are calling veterans old heads, they need to slow down and show some respect. Because by that point, they're veterans too. And this is where the real question appears, that what's actually killing the All-Star Game. According to critics like Pippen and Barkley, it's not the rules, it's not the USA versus world idea. It's the disappearance of leadership. For more than a decade, LeBron James has been the face of the league. And with that spotlight comes influence that in earlier eras, All-Star games often carried pride and competitive intensity, even though they were exhibitions. Players wanted to prove they belonged among the best. Today, the event sometimes looks more like a highlight session than a battle. Players laugh, joke, and trade flashy plays, but the edge that once defined the game often feels missing. And critics argue that the same veterans who could bring that edge back are the ones who now treat the weekend more casually. Instead of mentoring the next generation through competition, many stars focus on friendship and camaraderie. The hierarchy that once defined the league has softened. That's why Pippen's message hits so hard, that he's not asking for new rules, that he's asking for new energy. Players who actually want to compete. Players who understand that wearing an all-star jersey should mean something. Because until that hunger returns, until someone steps up and demands real effort, the format won't matter. You could bring back East versus West, USA versus World, or invent something completely new. If nobody cares about competing, the game will still feel empty. Pippen's point is simple. The All-Star Game isn't broken because of structure, that it's broken because, too many players stopped treating it like something worth fighting for. And the veterans, players like LeBron James, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant, have the power to change that culture overnight. The younger generation already idolizes them. If they set a new tone, the entire league would feel it immediately. But until someone in that locker room decides that pride matters more than popularity, the All-Star Game may continue to feel like a spectacle without real competition. The real question is this. Will the NBA's veteran stars reclaim the competitive spirit of All-Star Weekend? Or will the league's biggest showcase keep drifting further away from what made it special in the first place? Let me know what you think. Are players like LeBron, Curry, and Durant responsible for the All-Star Game losing its edge? Or is the problem bigger than any single generation? And if you enjoyed this breakdown of the NBA's leadership debate, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because more deep dives into basketball history, rivalries, and the stories behind the game are coming soon.